Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at a build for the Arc Hunter. This is one of my own builds, but if you have any builds that you want to see featured in a future video, then be sure to leave them down in the comments below. Now I know Prismatic is what everyone is talking about right now, but this build will allow you to jolt literally everything. So let's see how it works. Starting out with our abilities. Our super, Gathering Storm, is just a good one-off super that can be used for clearing a zone or damaging a boss, while also jolting targets in a nearby radius. Next up, your dodge. Now you won't really be using your dodge in the traditional way, so I'm using marksman dodge just for a quicker cooldown. You have your choice of jump and our melee combination blow. Now similar to the dodge, we won't be using this in the traditional sense, so it's really personal preference. The base cooldown is going to be overwritten either way, so don't worry about that. And for our grenade, we're going to be using Pulse Nade, as it's just a good all-round nade that can be thrown out for damage over time, but feel free to use whatever grenade you want. Now let's go to our aspects, starting out with Tempest Strike. While sliding, activate your charged melee ability to unleash a devastating uppercut attack that travels along the ground in front of you, damaging and jolting targets it hits. So, doing this will consume your melee and will also override the base melee cooldown regardless of which melee attack you have on. Having it jolt targets will also have them chain lightning to nearby targets and stun overload champions. Think of the wave almost like a wave frame grenade launcher. Next up, we have Ascension. While airborne, press X. This consumes your class ability to summon your Arc Staff, propelling you upward and creating a burst of energy around you that amplifies allies and jolts targets. So, this is our unconventional dodge. Amplified will give us a greater sprint speed, and Jolt, like before, will chain lightning to targets and stun overload champions. Now, you might be questioning these two aspects, but our Fragments, and especially our Exotic, is going to reveal their usefulness. Speaking of which, let's go to our Fragments. Starting out with Spark of Resistance. While surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. So, as always, damage resistance is always a great thing, and we're going to be up close with these adds a lot, so this works out perfectly. It also gives us a nice plus 10 to our strength stat. Next up, Spark of Focus. After sprinting for a short time, your class ability regeneration is increased. So, for this build, we want our melee and dodge up as much as possible. And unfortunately, using Gambler's Dodge and activating Ascension will not give any melee energy, and killing combatants with Tempest Strike while Combination Blow is equipped will not give any class ability energy. So, by sprinting for a short time, which seems natural given that we're going to be running towards our targets anyways, our class ability will quickly regen and we'll be able to activate Ascension again. However, it does take away minus 10 from our mobility stat. Next up, Spark of Haste. Defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace. So our Tempest Strike and our Ascension will jolt nearby targets. And now upon defeating those jolted targets, an ionic trace will spawn. These are traces of arc energy that travel to you and grant ability energy. Rounding it out, we have Spark of Haste. You have greatly increased resilience, recovery, and mobility while sprinting. The point here is that we're already going to be sprinting because of Spark of Focus. So why not gain a few extra buffs on top of the increased class regeneration? Now this could be swapped for something like Spark of Shock, which will make your arc grenades jolt targets, but that's a personal preference. Now let's move over to our exotics. Starting out with Two-Tailed Fox. Our intrinsic, Twin Tails, reads, shoots 2 rockets, 1 void and 1 solar, that can track onto the same target. Our trait reads, the Void Rocket suppresses enemies, the Solar Rocket causes damage over time. And our Catalyst adds an additional rocket to the volley that deals arc damage and jolts combatants. So, I'll be honest here, the Exotic can really be swapped out for anything. I'm running it for the fact that it can jolt targets, but an Exotic in your heavy slot or your kinetic slot wouldn't change much about the build. Unlike our next Exotic, Gifted Conviction. Activating Ascension or Tempest Strike throws bouncing explosives at nearby targets that jolt and damage them. Jolting nearby targets grants you damage resistance. So, finally, we connect all the dots with this. This single exotic will make both of our aspects 10 times better, being able to jolt more targets in a larger radius, but also giving us damage resistance just for jolting those targets. The projectiles are really good at finding additional targets to jolt, and this damage resistance can come from both our Ascension and Tempest Strike aspects, but it can also come from any source of jolt like a Volt Shot weapon, which brings us to our primary, Brigand's Law. Now I know you're like, what the heck is this? But really, you want any arc weapon that can roll with Pugilist and Volt Shot. Now Pugilist is here to help us get our melee back quicker, as defeating targets will grant melee energy. And Volt Shot is here because it will allow us to apply Jolt to targets, which will chain lightning to other targets nearby and give us damage resistance just for jolting a target, thanks to our exotic. Now for seasonal mods, the only one I'm really looking at is Galvanic Armor. While you have an Arc or Prismatic subclass equipped, incoming damage from combatants is reduced while amplified, and amplified is something we get for just activating our ascension. Another one you could do is Shield Crush, which is while amplified, your grenade will recharge faster and deal more damage, so it might help you throw it out a few more times. And right here are the armor mods that I'm running. Any sort of melee or dodge type mods do not work with Ascension or Tempest Strike, so there's no need to waste your armor slots using one of those. So, essentially what's going on here is when you find a group of enemies, either slide in with your Tempest Strike to jolt them and take them all out, or use your Ascension ability to also jolt and defeat targets while also making you amplified. And while amplified, you're going to be more resistant to incoming damage. Any source of jolt will also grant you damage resistance. Defeating jolted targets will also grant Ionic Traces, which will grant ability energy. After you've used your class ability, sprint to regenerate it, while also giving yourself increased mobility, resilience, and strength. And when out of melee energy, use your Pugilist Volt Shot weapon to gain back melee energy on kills while also jolting targets and giving yourself damage resistance. So that's the build, but make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos to come in the future. And let's get right to the showcase. Alrighty, let's see what this build can do. Right here, this is on me. Let's go. Jolted. Boom, up in the air. Jolt. Tempest Strike. I actually have Unstoppable Sidearm, so I can take out that ogre. I guess I'll help out my team. Alright, I went for the third one off. Alright, bet. Oh my gosh. Dude, this is like a get out of jail free card. You got a whole bunch of ads on you. They're like about to explode, and you just go straight up into the air. Alright, let's see what's going on with my favorite decoy. What's going on, bro? Oh, jolted. Dead. Tempest. Please don't. Oh my. Alright team, so I've got Unstop and Overload, who's got the barrier. Look at that spark, I got this. Boom. And boom. Let's go. That must have been a record. What's going on here? Oh! Do they all have to be explosives? Where do you think you're going? Up. Wait. Okay. And he's dead. Ooh, this was made for me. Yes. Let's go. Shrieker boss. This is gonna be over quick. Alrighty. That was the build. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Stay alrighty.